So more in the Talmud, and now he's talking about divorce. And he says the reason why divorce is seen as wrong is being when a man and woman get married, they leave their home and cling to their spouse, which they then become one flesh and blood. And there becomes one flesh and blood as well. So I just want to dissect this a little bit. So we talk about how people have multiple soul partners that can come into your life for a brief period, or they can come in for a longer period. Depends. Some are lessons and some are there to stay for however long they're supposed to stay. So if our soul partners change constantly in each lifetime, it's not always the same person that we're marrying every time, then how can us being tied to one person become flesh and blood if it only we're tied to that person in this lifetime, but it changes upon different lifetimes? And then also, it's like, how can we even tie ourselves to someone when we're meant to experience what we're meant to experience and then move on? So every partner we have, whether it's a soulmate or not, are basically karmics, family, friends, relationships. I heard that recently. Everyone is a karmic, and I didn't think that before. I thought that there were people that were karmic and people that are not karmic relationships, just meant to be pure and unconditional love. But everyone has a karmic lesson to teach you, no matter what lifetime you come into. So, and there's different karmic lessons. So some karmic lessons are to help you overcome your toxic traits. So they brought into your life to bring out your darkest side so that you overcome those toxic habits that you have. And then some karmics are there to show you unconditional love, so that because you didn't experience that before in a previous lifetime or this lifetime, so there's the karmic lesson there is for you to learn how to accept, receive, and give unconditional love as well. So a lot of us get married before we fully know ourselves or have tapped into our highest consciousness, our highest frequency, and we end up marrying someone who is just a karmic lesson. And that person was only supposed to stay for a brief period of time. I'm not saying that we weren't supposed to get married and have kids with that person, but it doesn't mean that that person was supposed to stay. And I'm not against marriage, and I'm not against having kids with someone who is a karmic in the sense of being there in your life for a short period of time, because maybe that was meant to be. Maybe you're correcting something in a past life that you guys weren't able to do together, and now your lesson is to have kids and raise kids together, but not actually stay in each other's life. Be there as a stepping stone to move on to your highest conscious, to learn new lessons that you didn't learn in that previous life. And I do think you do become one flesh and blood with that person that you have kids with, because not just marriage. I think when you have kids, because your kids are half of each other's DNA, so you become one flesh and blood in the sense of that person, if they choose to, will always be in your life for the rest of your life. You'll always have that shared bond together. So no matter what, if they choose to be a father or they choose to be a mother, then they're going to be in contact with each other. And it's more of a flesh and blood that you guys are now family. That's a family unit. Your kids are family, you're family now. And like how your siblings and whatnot are one flesh and blood. That's what it means by one flesh and blood, I think, when he says this, is that you become a family union. You become one in that sense. However, it doesn't mean that person's supposed to stay in your life. They can still be a one flesh and blood, a family, like a family member to you, but not be together. I think that if you don't have kids with someone, then you're not one flesh and blood. You're not a family unit. Even if you don't stay together. If you don't have kids, you're not one with that person. But just because you become one flesh and blood with someone doesn't mean that they weren't just supposed to be in your life for a brief period and then you're supposed to move on to your highest timeline, and that person who's supposed to be a part of your life in that highest timeline, a different partner who you may or may not have kids with. The thing is that you don't just have to be one flesh and blood with one person, just like how you have multiple brothers or sisters, a mother, a father, aunts, uncles, all these things. They're all one flesh and blood with you because they have the same blood that runs through you. And I think the one flesh and blood is like not supposed to be taken literally. Like your husband's blood doesn't run through you. The father of your kid's blood doesn't run through you. No, it runs through the children that you've created. So that's why you become one flesh and blood, because those children are a product of the both of you. So they're one flesh and blood of the both of you. So that's why you have that special bond, would you say, of having kids together. So you always feel like family.